Starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining our webinar with QuickTag. My name's Allie Keller, and I will be your host. I'm in sales and marketing here at the TM Group. Joining us today, we have Mary Miller, who is the Director of Sales and Marketing at ImageTag. If you have any questions, please feel free to enter them into the chat or questions window located on the right-hand side of your screen, and we'll read those periodically throughout the webinar. And I'm also recording this, so if you have any follow-up questions that you can't think of right away, then we can go over those when I follow up with you. And with that being said, I'll hand it over to Mary.
Excellent. Thanks, Allie. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. We're excited to be here and share with you how you can go paperless and actually way beyond paperless, save some time and increase efficiency in your processes, specifically AP automation process we're going to take a look at today, and how that can integrate with Dynamics SL. So if you are an SL user on the AP side or otherwise, then hopefully you will get value on how you can transform your current processes to take advantage of automation. So with that being said, we're going to dive right in and take a look at why, first of all, you might want to consider doing some of this in your business, why you would consider transforming from what might be today a very current paper-based, very manual process, and how you can transform that and the benefits that you can get out of doing that. Because we like to understand, first, there's a reason that everybody makes these decisions, and part of the reason, one of the main reasons, is that paper is very expensive, and not just the cost of that paper, but on average, every piece of paper that comes into your organization gets printed or copied or scanned or shared up to 10 times on average. So it's not just the initial paper, it's the fact that the cost of that adds up very quickly as we print and copy and share the materials once they come in. And I'm going to go through just a couple of introductory slides here, and then we're going to dive into a demo so that you can see exactly how this works and how it could work in your organization, specifically with the integration to Dynamics SL. But as you think about that, consider some of the latest research that supports the fact that, 70% of businesses would fail if they suffered a loss due to fire or flood or some other natural disaster, the upper left-hand, stat on your screen here on this particular slide. And then you move to the upper right and you realize that there's 30 to 40% of many of your colleagues' time today, specifically in HR and accounting and other very manual process-based roles within your organization, departments within your organization, they spend 30 to 40% of looking for information that's stored or locked away somewhere in an email or filing cabinets or offsite storage even, which, can be real draining. And when you have to answer that call and question of where's the status of this invoice or has this been paid yet, it just, creates that inefficiency and unnecessary getting up from your desk and looking for information in filing cabinets and such. So 30 to 40% of your time wasted there. 22%, the number in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. This is the percent by which paper grows across most organizations year over year. So given that your company might have X amount today, in 3 years, roughly 3 years, that amount will be doubled. And again, remember, every piece of paper that comes in, we copy up to 10 times before we get done with that particular document. So you can see how the inefficiencies add up. And these aren't probably things that you have, a line item for in your budget. They're things that are just sort of taken as the cost of doing business. And well, they don't have to be. So ultimately, you can avoid the number that's in your lower right-hand corner of the screen that you're looking at, which is $125. And the cost of a misfiled document within an organization or an unable to be located, if that's a thing, document in your organization costs around $125 when you factor in the time and the delay and the fact that somebody has to, get up and find it and that they can't find it. And if you have to go back to the source and have it, reproduced, so to speak, then that cost goes up to about $350 to $400 a document. So it can get very expensive in addition to the cost of the paper. And as I like to share from the old movie Office Space image here, nobody wants this. It's not a very fun or stress relieving process to have piles and piles of files and boxes and things surrounding our office. So as we talked about going digital, getting rid of the inefficiency in our process, what are some ways that we can take a look at solving that problem? Well, if you are looking at the QuickTag system, we talk about it as one system which can automate any process and manage any document. I'm going to show you how we do that specifically within SL through 3 simple steps, what we call capture, which is essentially making the paper go away, drag, drop, upload, tag the document as we call it, integrate specifically within SL, and then automating the processes that surround that. So we're going to take a look at what we call our QuickTag for SL solution here. I'm just going to share a different screen and jump over to my demo environment for you. And we're going to dive into SL. So being the case, you should all be looking at SL, an environment that's very probably near and dear to you. It's probably where you spend a lot of your time. And what I'm going to show you in this environment is 3 things. The first thing is going to be the ability to tag, or what we call capture, that get rid of the paper, drag and drop, upload, scan into the system, documents that you need to have associated with transactions or records in SL. So we're going to take a quick look at what that looks like. And then we're going to take a look at how transactions can get automatically created in SL if they start in QuickTag and they get routed for approval potentially, as many levels as need to be involved in that scenario. And then also if you've got project managers in the field, for example, that need to add this project and task detail to a specific record, that can be part of your automation process or not if you're not using those particular functions within SL. But first, we're going to take a look at just, tagging some documents and viewing them specifically within SL. So this is the capture story. And it's very easy to get started with document management from a capture perspective to, make those documents accessible here within SL. So what are a couple examples? We'll click this little tag button here, right here on the right-hand side of our voucher and adjustment entry screen in SL. By the way, this function, this tag and view option, is available to you across 42 different screens in about 6 different modules in SL. So it's not reserved to just the accounts payable piece, as oftentimes we find that once you have a system by which you can digitally manage your documents, you want to use that system in all the other areas of your business as well. And so this supports a lot of different screens, 42 of them to be exact in SL. And then, of course, if you want to use it for your non-SL users, there's easy ways for you to do that as well. What I'm going to show you mostly is going to be related to the AP process, but just keep in mind that QuickTag can capture and manage any document across any department, any business process in your organization. Okay, so once we click tag, we open this dialog box that says powered by QuickTag, and I turn adjustment entry screen, as you can see, and maybe I want to add an electronic document here. We'll say that it is a proof of delivery or something like that. We can quickly click add electronic files here, say that 3 times fast, and you'll be taken to your browser. You can access anything that's on your desktop, this PC, laptop, whatever, anything on a network share, and or email. I'll show you quickly the one with email as well, but let's just say we're going to take that document there. And SL is going to then automatically associate that document using QuickTag with this particular transaction. Essentially, we're building a library of documents that are related to a given transaction. So out of the box, when I click over to SL, I have this view of every document that's been associated with that particular voucher in SL. This is just the capture story, right? So this is building an association between documents that are living in QuickTag, but accessible and related to transactions in SL. So I'm just clicking through this list. If there was something that's waiting to be scanned, for example, or uploaded, then you'll get that no image until a file gets scanned in. But of course, once a document has been associated with it, you see on the left-hand side all of the metadata about that file. You see a list of files that are associated with that transaction. And then on the right-hand side, you can easily see that actual document displayed there for you. So let's hop back over to SL. And by way of example, by the way, let me just click into this other view of QuickTag. For every one of those files or forms in SL, every one of those screens, a corresponding drawer gets created out of the box as part of the SL capture story within QuickTag. So think of this again as your digital filing system. If you look outside your accounting office, your HR office, legal perhaps, there's rows and rows of filing cabinets that have, many drawers and many file folders and structure within those drawers. Well, right now that those documents, those systems, those filing systems are paper and very manual based. Think of QuickTag as your digital filing system. So for every site, in this case, we have some SL related examples, but they could also be, this could say sales and marketing, this could say orders, this could say projects. You can have your sites be related to any other area of your business. It doesn't have to be just accounting or SL related. But my point is, when we connect SL with QuickTag, you get the creation of all of these drawers. I have a subset of them here in my demo environment, of course, but you'll get all 42 of them the minute you connect QuickTag and SL. So within each one of these drawers, there are related documents for given transactions that were created in SL. Okay, so let's hop back over here. So I can tag and view to my heart's content. And one of the nice things is that, let's say you get an email in with some sort of approval or some sort of update or some sort of, even with a document attachment, it can also handle just that email drag and drop, and it will now associate that email along with any attachments that are part of that message to that transaction in SL using QuickTag. So very powerful. Tag, the ability to tag and associate documents with multiple different types of transactions directly in SL, and then view and find them whether you're an SL user or not. So kind of a high-level overview of the capture story using QuickTag for document management as it integrates right inside of SL. And by the way, we're not using any SL resources for this. All of these documents live in QuickTag. We're using the QuickTag server, the QuickTag database, where all of these images reside, all of these documents reside. So we're not going to slow down your SL process. We're not going to, take up any space in your database or use any other SL dedicated resources. So they're connected, but we're not actually putting information into the SL database. They have a very close relationship, but everything is actually stored for you in QuickTag. Okay, so now let's take a look at how documents can actually get created directly inside of SL using QuickTag as the front end. We're going to flip the process. So instead of having the process start where you'd be manually creating, tab through to build this voucher and adjustment entry inside of SL, we're going to take a look at how it can work if those invoices come specifically to QuickTag first and then get routed for approval, and then the transaction can get created inside of SL. So what is this? This is the SL Pro Client. The reason we call it the Pro Client is that it is designed, and you'll see why here in a second, specifically for the accounts payable professional who is responsible for indexing invoices in your organization. So picture this with me, if you will. You can probably even relate to it. I know I can, because I was an AP user, AP manager years and years ago, so it used to be my daily life. You'd come into a stack of invoices that are sitting on your desk. Maybe they came in the mail and somebody's opened them for you and put a sticker or a stamp on them. Maybe somebody has just put them there. Maybe they forwarded them to you in an email. Maybe they, God forbid, received an email with the attachment and still printed it. No, let's stop that. Anyway, you get the idea. This stack of invoices waiting for you to do something with, to tag them, to code them, to get them approved one way or another so that eventually they can get created in SL as payment vouchers. So now, instead of looking at a physical stack of paper, I have this digital queue which lists all of the documents for me on the left. I get a little bit of information about them. And then I can actually see the invoices on the right. They've either been emailed or scanned or uploaded directly into my QuickTag work queue inside of SL. You can see I've got several examples here. So I'm just going to pick one, and we're going to go through the creation of this process. Now, this is a pretty straightforward one. There's just one product that we're purchasing here, and I happen to know that this is either a project or a non-project invoice. I'm going to go ahead and select project because this was related specifically, let's just say, to a trade show or an event. It was a corporate design, corporate logo design that we hired somebody to do for an event. So I click on that invoice, I select that workflow, I just right-clicked to get that workflow, and I select the one for project-related invoice to get started. And you can see right away here the relationship between, I'm going to hop back over to SL just to give you this point of comparison. You can see the relationship between the SL professional client and voucher and adjustment entry screen because they look and feel just like one another. The SL Pro client was designed to look and feel and function and behave exactly like the voucher and adjustment entry screen. You can see the whole, the row, the layout, everything is identical. The reason for that is when companies start using this, when accountants start using this, they don't have to go through any sort of learning curve. The lookups and the relationship between these data fields presented to you in QuickTag are identical to what's available to you in SL. So if I, for example, had 3 or 4 SL companies available in my environment, I would get that list here. Well, the benefit of that is that if you manage multiple SL companies, you don't have to log in and out of QuickTag the way you would SL. You can be logged in once and just select whichever company is relevant for this particular vendor. And then I have a real-time vendor lookup here. I can see that this is for Graphic Design Institute. I can quickly select that. It populates most of the header information for me. I can come over and grab the invoice number. Of course, we're going to do a dupe check there, so I've got to add some unique data here to be able to track that. And then I put in the amount, and again, I can either copy and paste that or 10 key it because I don't want to take my fingers off the keyboard if I don't have to, right? And then I can come down here and enter the information. So I've got 1, and the unit of measure is each, and it's 25,000, and I'm done. So that creates the control total balance amount. All I did was put in the total amount, couple pieces of information, everything else came through straight from SL. By the way, if I had a PO that was related to this, I could simply look up the purchase order. I don't have any that are specific for this invoice, but if I could look those up. It would populate the PO number. I could look up the individual receipt number. The line items associated with that would then be populated for me so that I could very quickly do that match, visually and see, yes, I ordered 1, I received 1, and then process that that invoice on for approval. So my job as the accounts payable manager now is basically done. But because I know this is for a project, I'll go ahead and put a project manager in here. We'll give this one to Barry. It's his project. But I'm going to leave project and task blank here. The reason for that is my job as AP is done because I've done the data entry that I know, but I might not know what specific project in SL this is related to. So before I click submit to route this invoice for approval to the project manager who will enter that project and task detail, I just want to highlight for you, let's say this is an invoice that we receive from this particular vendor on a regular basis, say monthly, quarterly, or for many events that we do. We can save it as what we call a template. And when we save that as a template, we give it a name once we click submit here so that in future months or quarters when we get this invoice, all of this data is going to be populated for me automatically, and I would just need to make any adjustments. Of course, the date and the invoice number would be unique. But other than that, everything would be populated for me, so I don't need to do anything with it. So we'll just say graphic logo, and I'll save that as a template. And by the way, now I'm submitting that document for routing for approval for the project manager to take a look at it and add that project and task detail. So once I come to the next phase in that process, we're looking for the project manager to come in, add a little bit of information, and then go for final approval to, in our case, CFO. In your case, it might be one or many other levels of approval before an actual invoice gets, finally approved and sent into SL. So we're going to make this Mary Department Manager, and she's going to put in the project details. Now, when I saved that template in the SL Pro client, it's important to note that that template is not just available to me. It's available to anybody then who uses the QuickTag SL Pro client, because that would be pretty inefficient if I saved it and it was only for me. I want to make it available for anybody who might need to use that particular vendor for a future invoice so that they can access it just as easily without having to recreate it for themselves. You can see here I've got a number of different invoice types. I can simply collapse all of those and make it visible just to the ones that I want to focus in here. We'll look at the project invoices. That's what we sent in. Here's the view again. Again, I can maximize my real estate here if I want to look at just the project invoices I need to take a look at. And when I click on this row, I can view the invoice on the right. Now, I could, of course, download it or export it or share it with others if I need to, but we're just going to take a look at the step that we need to edit. By the way, if I needed to delegate it to somebody, I could do that. And then I also have a quick view of the workflow history where I can easily see that Mary was the one who tagged this, and now it's waiting for Mary Department Manager to do some, in our case, it's going to be project and task detail. So we're going to click the little pencil for the edit step, and I'm going to scroll past the header information because, of course, that's already there. And we'll come down to the line item where we are going to just look at project. And when I click that box, by the way, I could be doing this on any size device. It's responsive, HTML5. I could just tap there if I was on my iPad, for example. Click the project. This is giving me a list of the available projects in SL. I'm going to click and select sales and marketing because it was logo design. And then once I select sales and marketing, it's giving me another list of tasks that are available to me related specifically to that project. Again, real-time connection to SL to pull that data. I've put in my project and task, I submit it. My job then as project manager is done. I can submit this invoice now for final approval. And it disappeared out of my queue here in Approval Central, and it's gone on to Mary CFO for the next step in the workflow process. So we're just going to open a new tab here, go back to QuickTag for SL, and log in as Mary CFO. And I'm going through this relatively quickly because I realize we only allotted half an hour on your calendar for today's webinar. So certainly we'll have time to address questions when we conclude this session. And then if we need to go back and look at anything, we're happy to do that in a one-on-one basis. So I'm coming back to my QuickTag Anywhere Approval Central view, but now I'm Mary CFO. So in your environment, it might be that AP does the first step and then a project manager does another step. Maybe there's a final step in AP for checking to make sure that the codes are correct, or that if there was a PO related, that the right receipts were associated with it. Any of those workflow steps are configurable based on your business process, okay? Now I'm going to show you the approval here in a second, but first I want to show you another way that you could approve this document, or another way that approvers could review and approve this particular invoice. We have the concept of email approval or mobile approval. So if, for example, the CFO or whoever it is the final approval for an invoice is on the road or out on customer sites or project sites or anything like that, they might choose to have email approval. So what happens in this scenario is the approver gets the email with all of the notification detail about that invoice that we just looked at together. This is the one we're working with. I can come down here and see the project, and now I've got the project and task detail as well as the rest of the invoice metadata here in this line item. And my ability to look at that, I can certainly just open the file here and take a look. Yes, that is in fact the invoice that I need to approve. If I wanted to, I could simply reply, or in many cases, we'll just put buttons down here for approve or reject, and that will create the reply message for you, put the word approve in there. All you need to do is hit send. So the ability for people to approve invoices via email or in the mobile environment, certainly able to be supported. I'm going to show you the final step here in QuickTag Anywhere, just to kind of walk through the process. In this environment, you can see multiple different ways to approve invoices. Of course, I could have done it in the Pro Client if I was a user of the Pro Client as well. That's not going to happen as frequently. Most of your project managers and approvers are likely to be out in the field and or in a desk on a web environment. They might not be accounting users per se, so they're not going to be probably SL Pros, which is who the SL Pro Client, of course, is designed for. But if they're in an environment where they need to have just web access and quick, check, they can approve all of these at a quick glance. You can easily see that you can go from one invoice to the next pretty quickly, and then those display for you here. So we'll take a look now at the workflow history for our Graphic Design Institute invoice, and we see that Mary did the tagging, Mary Department Manager did the coding, and now it's waiting for Mary CFO to do that final approval step. I could, of course, delegate it to somebody else, say, hey, you know what, maybe they assigned this to the wrong project manager. Can you take care of that? It's really supposed to be yours. Or, of course, I could reject it if for whatever reason there was some issue with the project or the invoice. I could reject it here. Of course, I have to tell accounting what to do with it because they're going to get it back. So I have to give a reason as to why I reject that invoice. But for demonstration purposes, we're going to go ahead and approve it. And we're going to put TM Group SL approve. Since I know that all of you would approve this invoice, we're going to go ahead and do that, and it's going to disappear out of my Approval Central work queue. Now, I, of course, could come in here and search and find anything that I've acted on before. It's easy for me to do that. I'm going to not go into a whole lot of detail in this environment because, of course, we have a short amount of time, but there's lots of ways for you to find information that's either waiting for something or already been processed, already been approved. But in this case, once we have that final approval complete, we're going to go right back to SL, and instead of taking the tag or view step like we've looked at together already, we're going to go to the QuickTag work queue. Now you can see this voucher and adjustment entry is blank. There is no data here that tells me anything about the invoice that I'm about to create. But when we look at the QuickTag work queue, which again takes advantage of that QuickTag real-time connection with SL, we'll open the work queue, and we will see all of the invoices, and if there were line items associated with them, we'll see them down here. Project and task, again, there's the one that we're working with, and can look at that detail right here. I can hover and you can get all of the metadata and the information about that invoice. I can right click and actually view the document. If you're like me, you want to have that final checkpoint of, is this actually the invoice that I want to put into the system? It's just that final level of AP control that you want to have before you create a voucher and adjustment entry within your SL system. So I see the invoice here, and I'm going to go ahead, and if I wanted to, by the way, select multiple, I could, of course, here's one that's got lots of line items. I could select all of them at once. I could control select, just like you could, in any other Microsoft environment. For our purposes, we're just going to select the one that we're working with here. We're going to create this batch, and it's going to ask me, do I want a new batch or do I want to use an existing batch? I'll create a new one. We'll clean them up later. And that then QuickTag is going to tell me I created this reference number in batch 393. Again, out of my work queue now, into SL. I simply do my lookup. Of course, it's going to be right here at the top of the list for me. I see that voucher and adjustment entry get automatically created. And of course, I can view the document there just as we did before. So now that transaction is complete. The line items, if there were additional ones, would be there. And all of the transaction data got created for me automatically. So I save it. And even though this transaction now exists in SL, all of this data, as well as the document for future audit trail or additional purposes that you might need to share it with your non-SL users, have access to all of the documents over in QuickTag. Okay, so I'm going to switch quickly back to a couple of closing slides on my other screen here, just to kind of recap what we just took a look at. We can kick off the AP workflow using the SL Pro client designed specifically for your accounting users. They will then have the option to do a little bit of data entry just by looking at the invoice here or creating a template, and they can route that for approval, or they could do the capture, tag, and view directly within SL using the QuickTag connector. We do that in 42 different screens. Again, everything is stored outside of SL, but accessible via QuickTag. And just to kind of keep in mind that we think of QuickTag kind of as a Swiss Army knife. If you look at this image, it's kind of what it resembles. And the reason for that is it doesn't have to be an accounting document or accounting related process even that you might need to automate. A lot of companies use it for HR or legal or sales orders or contracts. You can see the concept that if there's a site and a drawer relationship within QuickTag that you can translate to some department and or document level within your business, then QuickTag can store it, manage it, route it, and give you an audit trail for anything that it does that for, whether that document is related to SL or not. And I'd like to share just a little bit about our family photo, or our family snapshot, if you will. And there you can see companies of all different shapes and sizes and industries represented here, small, medium, and large businesses, global businesses, those in industries representing everything from healthcare to professional services to professional sports, even certainly education and universities, government as well. So companies of all shapes and sizes suffer from the paper problem that we talked about at the beginning, right? It's expensive, it takes up space, it takes away time from people's core job and core focus, and which ultimately leads to additional cost, of course, as well. So when you need an idea or a reference point for companies who are using QuickTag, there isn't a right or wrong size or company type. There's typically, if they have paper in their business, chances are they need document management and process automation. So again, maybe you can relate. A few facts about us. I don't want to do a commercial here by any means, but it's important for you to know that we've been around for 21 years and that we were actually the first Microsoft ISV to integrate directly with the ERP systems, and which is why we go as deeply as we do. We support SL, GP, NAV, and AX. Specifically in SL, again, we go across 42 different screens that you can tag and view documents using the QuickTag connector. And as a result of our 21 years of experience, we have more than 120,000 business users around the globe that rely on our system to manage their critical business documents. And all of our support is based right here in Phoenix, Arizona. Great place to come in February for training if that's something that you're interested in. So keep that in mind. And I just want to close with a quick reference point here that, of course, you can follow us and find us on all the social channels, or you can visit QuickTag.com. But we have a dedicated page specifically for those of you who work with TM Group, which I would encourage you to visit and just make note of that, QuickTag.com/TM Group. And you'll be able to find some specific materials that are dedicated to the way that we work with them and some more about our products and how they might be able to help you. So again, we tried to fit everything into a 30-minute session today. So I hope that wasn't too fast for everybody, but tried to cover the highlights of both capture and integrate, as well as process automation with QuickTag. So with that, Allie, I'll turn it back to you, and thank you for hosting us.
Thank you so much, Mary, and thank you, ImageTag, for doing this presentation for us. We don't have any questions right now, so I'm just going to end it here. If you do think of any questions, I will be following up, and then you can ask me then. But thank you again, Mary, and I hope everybody has a great day.
Thanks, Allie. Take care.
You too.